No, it's Nickx, he's the chain man. Flipper from my NFT games. Dal Ticino all Australia. Crypto boss mate.
Welcome to Soccerverse. So yeah, we're going to do an AMA today and answer, I guess, all the questions which have been asked. So first of all, I guess we'll just introduce ourselves. So I'm Andy, also known as Snailbrain. I'm from the crypto side of the project. So the project was sort of created or conceived by a sort of joining of Andy Gore, will talk about himself in a moment, who's from Soccermanager. He's been working on football management games for like over 20 years. And I'm from the blockchain side. Some of you may know, I've been developing blockchain games for like 12 years now, since Hunter Coin. And been doing sort of research and development since. And in the company I do obviously a lot of management and stuff, and a bit of developing and game design and things like that. So that's my intro, and I'll pass it over to Andy G.
Hello everybody, I'm Andy G, and as Andy C mentioned, or Snailbrain, I'm working on the football game side of it, so the management game, and yeah, that's kind of my role really. So it's great to have you all here and hopefully answer your questions as well as we possibly can. And thanks for all your questions as well, by the way. It's all great, and thanks for being part of the Soccerverse community as well and helping us on the project.
Cool. And just finding me, so I'm Leslie, so I'm the marketing lead at Soccerverse. So I've been part of the project for about 6 to 7 months now, so still relatively new, still a lot of learning, but again, it's been fascinating working obviously just on this project, obviously working with the guys. My background, just a little bit of background, I'm from traditional gaming, so working for the companies, the likes of Activision, the Lego Group and King Games, as well as Formula One. So again, very much in the gaming space, but also learned and kind of worked a lot on the Web3 and crypto side as well, particularly in blockchain gaming. So it's been really excited to be part of the project. I'm a massive football fan myself, huge football fan, Newcastle supporter. But again, yeah, that's a bit of me. So again, it's just to echo and reiterate what both guys said. Thanks again to all of you and the rest of the community for not just joining this session, but obviously being part of Soccerverse over the past couple of years, longer than me, obviously. However, it's been really, really great to kind of kick off and see everything come to life, particularly from launch last week. So it's been absolutely great. So yeah, that's just a bit about me. So I suppose just a bit of, dive into it a little bit. I'll pass it over to Andy G and Andy C really to kind of give a slight few-minute update on kind of like just how launch has gone, and also just again open out the floor for these guys.
Yeah, I'll let Andy start off with that one.
Yeah, so the launch went smoothly. So we managed to deploy it, reset the game world, hand out everybody's influence who was expecting it from the ICO participants to beta testers and so forth. So from that perspective, it went smoothly, and the key parts of the game are functioning correctly. Login, shop, set tactics, and all the other features. We've been testing it for quite a long time now, over the past few months. As you all know, there's lots of familiar names there in the audience, so I can see that a lot of you have been with the project for a long time. So it's great to have deployed it in a smooth way. And then as well as that, we've had a nice participate. It's been a good atmosphere in the Discord, a lot of activity. There's been a lot of activity in the game. There's been a lot of managers joining, and we've had some new people joining as well. So it's a nice start to the year, and it's nice. You couldn't expect more really at this point, so we're very happy.
Yeah, and just also to add to that, all the feedback that you guys have been giving to us has been invaluable. So not just testing recently up until launch, but the people that have been in the game for like 5 years now or something, even when it was Windows Unity client. So yeah, all the feedback what we've had and bug reports and things like that have been greatly appreciated. So thank you for that.
Cool. Yeah, so again, just obviously, I mean, look, this is just general AMA, our first one, so hopefully we're doing a lot more over time. Again, this just gives opportunity to obviously just welcome questions. I know you guys are massively active already in the chat, and you know we have a great team, particularly Tiki, who obviously is answers a lot of the questions, etc., as well as ourselves. But again, this just kind of is more of an opportunity for us to go speak to you, put some voices and potentially in the future faces to names or usernames such as Snailbrain and NeoScyphe. But again, like I said, it's just kind of great to have these sessions over. So just kind of jump into it really. You know, again, thanks for asking all your questions in the AMA question channel. Hopefully we might be able to get to some potential live questions. We can potentially kind of bring some people to the stage, hopefully. But again, we'll kind of dig into kind of list of questions. So without further ado, I will be obviously asking them. Obviously, I'll be answering from a market perspective, you know, some of the questions over there. But yeah, so I'll kind of jump into things. So the first couple of questions, again, mainly for the both Andy G and Andy C. I'll group these two up, but how many managers have joined and how many managers bought club packs? Who wants to take this one?
Okay, Andy, we think we both could do that one. We've got the stat board, but maybe Andy he might have the latest and greatest.
Yeah. So yeah, managers joined. So we have 858 managers at the moment. Obviously, some of them are going to be people maybe with a couple of accounts or something like that. But actually, 867 just updated. So you know, in reality, that might be like 800 or something, which is, you know, what we sort of expected with the type of launch and marketing strategy that we're doing. And the other question, what was the other question again?
How many managers?
How many managers? Oh yeah, so that one's a bit of a difficult question. For the amount of users that have bought packs, so there's been about 200 unique users who have bought packs, and in total 32,000 packs have been sold. So obviously, like, some of those are tier 5 and some are tier 1, so obviously that's different prices up to there, but in total across them all it's 32,000 so far, which
Cool.
is 32,000 times 100, which is 3.2 million influence.
Nice. The maths guy definitely can work that out. But yeah, I mean, just to echo what kind of Andy was saying about managers as well. You know, again, you know, we're pretty much on track and on target to kind of what we wanted, and I think so. We're really, really positive and excited about that. And I think ultimately, you know, having a good amount of managers, which we do have at the moment, will definitely, hopefully, cause excitement and generate excitement for game week 1 tomorrow actually. So again, it's really exciting to kind of push that through. And you know, we have grown the community a lot within this 6 months, but so that's why we're quite excited to kind of it going really. So, but yeah, cool. Okay then, so moving on to the next question, kind of group of questions, I think more directed to Andy C. The exchange SVC, wCHI will be there forever or can be disabled for anything specific reason. But also, why can't we exchange SVC directly to USDC? Why go buy another token?
Yeah. So yeah, I can answer that one. So yeah, so Soccerverse is powered on Xaya tech, so it uses some of Xaya smart contracts, like the Xaya unique accounts, the names, which are NFTs, and the way that, or the only way to sort of trustlessly trade from within inside this game, the way that the tech works, that powers Soccerverse, which is sort of like, you could describe as like the matrix inside a matrix sort of thing. And the outside of this matrix, it's hard to trade trustlessly for real crypto for inside the game, because we use a different sort of technology which helps it to scale, and we can have these complex games. So it has to be done through wCHI, so that's the way that it is being designed. So it will always be there. However, on to the second question, what we intend to do, we just didn't have time for launch, is have a auto conversion. So people that want to buy SVC at least can pay directly with USDC, and then in the background it will auto convert into wCHI, and then fill the seller's order, and then he gets the wCHI, and the user gets the SVC. So we do intend to support USDC in the future for an auto conversion for that. But the way that the tech has been designed is it has to be done through wCHI basically. So it will be there forever. That.
Cool. Apologies. I do need to call out the people who've asked these questions. So those questions came from Awesome109, Soccerverse Portugal in Calic. And apologies for butchering some of these usernames if I do. But yeah, so next question, more for Andy G, but from Libertaire X. What happens to players who retire in reality in Soccerverse? Does he cease to exist with the rating update, or does he still fulfill a 4-year contract and only disappear after the contract ends? Will he have the last valid rating for that long?
Yeah, that's a good question. So when a player retires in real life, so then we need to retire him out of the game. So it wouldn't happen until the end of the season, and what we're thinking of doing is leaving it for another season just to be sure that he has actually retired in real life. So he wouldn't honour the contracts. If you had him on a 4-season contract, and he retired in real life, you wouldn't have him for another 4 seasons. He wouldn't go to the end of his contract in the game before he retires. The reason being is because people could just put their older players on sort of 6-season contracts and keep them longer. So we would have to operate it in that way, where so the season that you're currently in, he would finish, and then maybe we will add another season in just to be sure that he has actually retired in real life, because some might retire and he might come back. In terms of his player rating, because we're getting no statistics for the players, because I'm not sure, maybe it's in the user guide, but maybe we could also explain, if needs be, how the rating system works if we get time later. But what would happen is that the player would stop playing in real life, so we'd have no data. So the algorithm that we use to update the player ratings would just drop him down, and he would eventually work his way down to 50 if he was low anyway. If he was quite high, it would take him a bit to go down to that. So his rating, the algorithm would just put his rating down quite faster than it would if he was playing somewhere, to 50, and then the season after that he would then retire. That's how we're thinking about it.
Cool. No, great stuff. Cool. So next question is from Fastlane 1903X. This is a juicy one. When would you consider Soccerverse as a success/failure? And I'll probably pass it over to either Andy's, but probably Andy G.
Yeah, sure. I don't think we'll ever consider it a failure, because I think even now there's a good community in it. So of course the intention is to grow it bigger, and then actually an awful lot bigger, and have many people playing it. But I think this is something this game that can run for decades, and we'll keep shaping it, evolving it, fixing bugs and issues. So yeah, I don't think that there's any situation where at this point where we are now we can consider it to be a failure, and we'll probably continue to grow, and I think people always play it, so that's that thing. Considering it a success, similar question really. Similar answer, sorry. It's the start of quite a long journey. It's been a long journey already, and I know a lot of you guys have been around, but this is in a new phase now, and it will continue to grow. So I think it'll just keep getting better and better, and the community will keep growing. And yeah, we've got a lot of things lined up. We've got a lot of features that we could talk about later, and we've also got some things that the game will get. The more busy the game gets, the better the game gets, like network effects. So yeah, we'll consider it a success. We already are. We're very pleased, but there's a lot to come yet.
Great. And just to kind of follow on from that, actually, it's a good group of question from Santa Claus. Did the number of users until now fulfill your expectations, or were they aiming high, or were we aiming for higher, lower numbers, which is quite a similar question, but yeah.
Yeah, we were aiming for what we were after is 1,000 active managers for the first match day, which is tomorrow. That's what we were looking for, and we've got, as Snailbrain mentioned, we've got 867 at the moment. So yeah, that's good. We wouldn't set 1,000's a nice round number. We wouldn't have set a target for 860. Say we would obviously round it up to 1,000. So we're happy. There's a lot of managers, a lot of activity in Discord. So this is where we're happy where we are at this point, and we'd like to get the game world by the end of season 1 to be most of the clubs managed. Not everybody might want to manage some of the clubs, so that's what we're aiming at. Just so you know, the next sort of target we've got to fill the game world up in the next 6 months.
Very nice. And just to kind of add to that a bit, again, to fulfill that number and kind of really reach, fill in 5,000 manager roles, right? There's lots of leagues, clubs, in different countries, right? So again, with help of community, with help of more stretching the marketing, etc., and growing our reach, really want to fill those up, because as a success story, we have our top leagues full, and actually a lot of the leagues below full as well. So again, that just makes it really positive in terms of how we're filling up from the top, but ultimately it's really getting this challenge and going through all the rest of them, right? I always reference the South African League 1 and 2 because they're a bit random, but we have such a massive and scalable game world. It's just really exciting to see that, and obviously to get that full is our ambition, and again, it's something that we're definitely striving towards. So so just on to the next questions, couple from Maurice777. I'll club these together. How many people continue working on Soccerverse? So kind of the size of the team, but also what is the roadmap / outlook look like?
Okay, yeah. The first question at the moment, there's 14 of us in sort of different shapes or forms. So yeah, there's about a team of 14. In terms of roadmap forward, I guess there's 2 roadmaps. There's a development roadmap of features, and then there's like another one where maybe Andy can help me explain, where we've got what we're calling like eras. So first, in terms of features, the absolute right now we're working on polishing up the user interface, polishing up issues that we find. We're reacting to things that are getting reported by you guys in the community in Discord, and then we're fixing those things and changing things based on that. So we're still polishing up the game. That's what we're doing right now. And then we're also we're going to deploy. So like on match day tomorrow, so the first SVC payouts will go out. So that opens up a new thing there, and there'll be new feedback based on that, and we can react and adapt to that. And we do have a list of features that we're going to work on as well. So they range from all sorts of things, such as improving the profile area. I guess the more extreme one is we've got to on the match day experience and the match engine, ultimately get it to a champ manager type with the circles moving around, and then maybe go beyond that text message, the messages bars going update commentary and watching the match more live. So that's like a big of a project. We've not got full details on that, but we do have that. But that's like a more of a bigger project for further down the line. Immediately at the moment, it is fixing and polishing, and also working on things to do with engagement in the game. So we want people to be able to communicate with each other so they can trade with each other better. So we're working on the things that are to do with engagement, notifications, hopefully push notifications soon to remind you that a vote is underway and things like that. So we're working on polishing and engagement at the moment. That's the immediate few months. Yeah.
Cool. Great stuff. And then just one from, again, I might butcher this, Akidral. What is the hardest part of making Soccerverse right now, and what are the challenges are coming soon or kind of upcoming?
The hardest thing about Soccerverse right now, development-wise, it's not so easy to change things. We can change some things, but it's not as easy if you were developing something that isn't fully on-chain. You don't have as much scope to change things without the world going out of sync. That's a challenge, but it's also a good thing as well, because that is the point of putting it fully on-chain, is that it's kind of more immutable. But yeah, that is challenging compared to other game projects. I don't know if Snailbrain wants to add anything.
No, not really. I think that's it. Obviously, yeah, we're working on a game where, you know, if it was a traditional multiplayer game, it's quite easy to fix things on the fly and get it back up. But, you know, for adjusting the game logic in a like on-chain decentralized game, needs like a lot of preparation. So you know, that's why we do these player updates at the end of the season. Obviously, if there's like a critical bug or something like that, then we have to do that there and then. But then you know, the code starts to get a bit complicated and a bit messy. So, you know, we've had to be extra careful with the GSP part of the game, where all the game logic is in, so it is, you know, as perfect as can be, with 0 bugs, which would probably be, you know, very difficult in a traditional gaming studio to find these bugs, because in here they are quite serious. If things are broken, you know, maybe someone gets 100 times the payouts, or you know, causes a fork in the game world if things aren't deterministic, like, you know, things like random numbers and stuff like that. Because it could be, you know, if you run a GSP on your machine, then you get a slightly random number, or it's rounded incorrectly, and then that can change all the results of all the next matches, and then essentially there's a fork of the game world, and people are playing in different parallel universes or alternate realities. So we have had to be, you know, extra careful with that sort of stuff, and obviously we are like kind of experienced in that for doing it for so long. But it's not impossible that there are some bugs still there where we will, you know, the game may be down for some time. But obviously we're aiming for that not to happen, and we hope it doesn't. But there's always that possibility.
Nice. Cool. Okay then. Well, there's I think now we kind of move into questions more close to the game development side. So maybe more from you, NDC. But so the next question is from D Doctor. Was the game simulator changed from the beta to now, or can we assume that things look the same?
Yeah, that's a good question, and that's probably more for Andy G, as he's worked more on the match engine side of it. But just say, you know, the basics of it is that it's since the last beta, it's not changed much. I think there's been some tweaks, but probably Andy knows more about what we have changed there. Obviously, there's things like all the ratings and stuff like that of the players, which is outside of the match engine. But yeah, Andy.
The match engine itself, I think we've just fixed a couple of issues that we found. I don't think there's been anything really big different to the beta with that. Yeah, it was, as you said, it was the things that are getting fed into it. So the player ratings have all been updated, and the way we're ranking defender, midfielder, attacker ratings is different, as you will see. And that's about it, really. There's not much more than that. There's been a slight change to the penalties. That was something that was done recently. The more the player plays out of position, the more he gets penalised. Those numbers have changed a little bit, but yeah, that's about it for now on the match engine.
No, nice. Cool. And then next question is from XPCOC. Is there going to be an option to link Discord or X to Soccerverse profile, so it would be easy for people to contact owners or managers easily?
Yeah. So we probably will add something like that back in. Like obviously before it was tied to claiming a pack, But one of the features what we will be adding is like in the settings area, there'll be like a notification section where you can link your account to Discord, link it to Telegram, potentially WhatsApp and other things, so then you can receive alerts in there, notifications directly to different platforms, and yeah, like we haven't confirmed that we are doing this, but you know, for example, next to your manager name in the game, we did have it like this in the past, if people recall, but it can have the icon next to it, so the Discord icon, a Telegram icon, and a WhatsApp icon or something like that. So then you can click it and it will open to them if you want those to be public, of course. So yeah, there will be some way to link Discord soon, maybe in about less than a month or something like that, as we get onto the notification stuff.
Cool. And then, yeah, a couple more questions. I'll wrap these two up. So one from Nickx and one from Sorao10. So Sorao10. What are the plans? And I think we've kind of touched upon this, but what are the plans for the 3D match engine and live substitutions? And if the live game's advanced, will it be possible to have people watching?
Yeah, so this is something we've wanted. Andy might want to touch on this later as well. It's something we wanted to have for a while. So yeah, the 3D match engine is possible as soon as we do a 2D sort of match engine. But probably what will be, or what we wanted to do more sooner, and we haven't got a fixed time date for this, is like Andy said, we want to redo the match engine part of it. And one of the things we've always wanted to do in like 5 years or whatever is for the match to, instead of playing out in an instant, it does play out 90 minutes in an instant when that block comes in on the blockchain. But we want it so it takes place over 5 minutes instead, or maybe 10 minutes or something like that. So you would be able to watch it live to see the commentary come in step by step. So that's not actually that difficult to do, but since we're going to revamp the entire match engine in the future, it will probably come at the same time as that. And yeah, for the, you could imagine once there's a lot of value in the game, everybody coming to watch the match on Saturday to see if their player scores a goal, so they get extra bonuses and all that sort of stuff. So that is something that we want to do. And as for the 3D part of it, yeah, once we've got the 2D part, the 3D could come as well. But by the time that happens as well, it's probably not going to be difficult to have photorealistic AI generated videos of matches and things, highlights and stuff. So yeah, we'll get to that in the future, but there is a plan for the like live match as well. Just no specific times, unfortunately, at the moment.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, and to be honest with you, that's as a championship manager, football manager player from decades back, I'm sure this is one of the most requested or asked for, especially for a new player, etc. And it's definitely something that when I joined Soccerverse is, when will it come, basically. So again, I think this is definitely a high priority of ours. But again, getting the game working, which is great, and the community going, definitely on the roadmap, as Andy says. Cool. And the next question is from Akidral again. He's asked a few more, but I'm going to start with, are there any plans to introduce a player loan system?
Yeah, I mean, probably more for Andy as well, but at the moment there isn't, but obviously we've discussed it in the past, and it could be something that we do add in the future, but it's not on the priority list at the moment. Maybe Andy wants to comment on that.
Yeah, I think things like that's a nice feature to have. I think all these sort of features, like a match engine, a match that you can watch and see the tactics unfold, and also things like enhancing the transfer market, putting in loan deals. All these things are all things that we do discuss, and as I said, the project's not static. We're going to continue working and building on it. So these things will come in. We speak about them, but we haven't put any detailed designs into them. When we start deciding to do them, we would have to we'd have to also run these things through the community as well and make sure that they keep the game sort of balanced and fair, and it would be that would be the sort of process that we would go through with it. If we do some proposals for how we would do, say, a loan system, and then people would comment on it, we could help us improve it and find problems in what we suggested and help us come to a better solution. And then that's how we go about putting any features in. So yeah, we do discuss these things, and so they're all good ideas, and they're ideas that come up, and people are always going to request them. So there's a good chance that at some point we would find the time to sort of do that and put them in. If there's a big demand for it, then we will do it.
Cool. Yeah, and I think just to jump on that as well, like there's lots of things that we want to and can add, etc. But just to double down again, and this is why it's great to speak to you guys and get more feedback from the community, which you always do anyway, which is great. But again, when there's a lot more appetite and when we're seeing a lot more, we want X, Y, and Z, such as, again, through the matches engines, then we do have regular conversations on what we can do, obviously resource, provided. But ultimately, if the demand is there, then, it's something that we obviously need to kind of highly prioritize and maybe shift some things around. But again, that's just just more of a reminder. And again, a headline of community feedback is massively useful and grateful. And that helps us kind of plan and work our resource really. So, cool. And then there's a couple more questions on Akidral. Are there any plans to add ability to arrange and play friendly matches? And are there any plans to add international teams and now allow players to manage them?
We don't have any. Sorry, Andy.
No. So I was going to say, we don't have a plan for it, but yes, another thing that we have discussed, and we did want to put international teams in eventually. But yeah, sorry, Andy.
Yeah, I'm just going to say the same thing. Similar to the other things, match day loans, we do have a list. The things you would normally find in manager games, we do have a list. We have discussed them, and we've been focusing really on getting this game out as it is and deploying it. And then we're currently focusing, as I said earlier, on growing the user base. The more people are in it, the more managers are in there, the more active it is, the better it becomes for everybody. So the game, it's more fun, it's better the more busy it is. So that's the focus, and also polishing things up and getting the engagement notifications. And then we're going to pull out this list of features, and we could put it to the community, ones that we could do, and maybe have votes on them and see which ones people prefer to be in first and things like that. I mean, managers, playing friendlies, international management, these are all things that are going to be regularly asked for. So there'll be things that we'll look at quite seriously to decide whether when to do them, if we're doing them, and how to do them.
Cool. Awesome. Okay, next question is from Manolito10, but also there's another question from Sarao10, which is we'll group up together. So when we'll be able to set custom tactics, and will be a tool where we could set custom tactics and upload them to the game/match engine afterwards, and what schedules for the tactics instructions to have more choices?
For me, I guess, then as well. So when we will be able to set custom tactics, I don't know what that means at the moment, but I mean, at the moment the match engine is what it is. So when we update the match engine, you will be able to do more things in there. Like, for example, at the moment now, you're in these fixed positions in formations, but you could do it more custom, where you can actually place the player anywhere on the pitch that you want, sort of thing, rather than those set formations, even though most people use those anyway. But yeah, when we update the match engine, there'll be a lot more flexibility and customization there than what there is. And the other one, and that's the same for the schedule. So the schedule is just the same thing as setting the tactics and things. So it's the same question. Once we've got the match engine sorted and improved, there'll be more options of flexibility there. For now, it is just what it is, and we're hoping end of this year, I guess is a good target. What we're giving ourselves to replace the match engine.
Cool. Awesome. Talking about awesome. Next question is from Awesome 109. Will there ever be more clubs leagues added, and will there ever be women's soccer/football added?
Yeah, so someone noticed that there actually did a female team did make its way into Soccerverse. I think, was it in Belgium or Luxembourg or something like that? But at the moment there isn't plans, and there wasn't plans to do that, but it is something where we can expand it later. For extra clubs and leagues, that is possible. We did try to get as many as we could in, as you can see now, as possible from the start, because it is quite a invasive change or fork of the game world sort of thing, to be able to add more clubs and leagues. But it is doable, and one of the goals is what we really wanted to do was represent every football club in the entire world and every football player in the entire world as well. So and of course, obviously, we add new players at the end of each season if they've played at any of the clubs that we've got in the game.
Cool. Awesome. Next question. Hamburger FC. Any plans to implement a way to negotiate for multi-year contracts or even distribution of payments over multiple years for very high-profile player sales? Example: buying a young kid under 25 who's rated 92 plus and have a value of above 40 million.
Yeah, not entirely sure. Yeah, I get the thing for negotiate, because you can negotiate now. Is the distribution of payments to the influence holders or the agent, or does it mean to pay for the player? So you get him, basically pay him in installments, like he's you've got him on finance. Is that what it means, that question?
Yeah, I believe. Well, I think so.
Yeah.
Hamburger, if there's any others, but yeah, just in my mindset, particularly if I read this question and what you see with nowadays in real football, right? Particularly, let's use Chelsea as an example. A lot of stretching over years, obviously contracts, etc. So I mean, again, spending kids and spread it over the years as a bit of a finance. We've
not discussed that. I can say that, but something that we could consider.
Yeah.
Maybe if you can't afford it at the end of a year, he just leaves or something like that. But like one thing on this as well, I don't know if there's a question about it later, but and I don't even know if we was even going to talk about it today. But the one way to look at the economy is there's sort of two parts to it. So there's like the club side of the economy where they're paying out wages and they're getting income, and there's like its own like flow or cycle going on there. And then there's the human players that are receiving these payouts. And eventually what happens is, once the influence in the clubs have been sold, and then a lot of influences fall into the players, is the players can then inject money into the clubs through what's called an influence dilution event, and so the money flows back into the clubs, and that money is then basically, if you're a club and you want to raise some money to buy a new player, then that money can go into the club to pay for the whatever it is, So essentially, you're raising money for the club. So the flow of the SVCs, goes out of the clubs into the users, and then apart from also going into the players' influence, also can be injected back into the clubs. So if you need to raise some money for a player, then eventually that is the end game of the game. So just going back to what Andy said earlier about the eras. So we have this, what we could say is this era one, where we're just polishing the game and stuff, and the primary sort of objective is to start filling up the manager roles. Once the manager roles have been filled up, you could say it's sort of like if a new player coming to the game is no longer a manager game, because there isn't enough room for any more managers, so it'll get more lucrative to be in those roles. But then the other side of the game is this like trading, scouting, all those other parts which are scalable to millions of users. So, that is, we complete Era 1 first, fill up all the manager roles, and then we go on to this Era 2, which is more about the trading side of it, and also, creating the cycle or the loop of the economy of the payouts going back into the clubs, and then we've got a sustainable economy. Went on a bit long there, apologies for that.
No, all good. Andy, was there anything else to add to that? I don't know, you want to jump in?
On the economy stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you were good about to jump in there, but I don't know whether Andy answered everything.
Yeah, Andy answered everything there, and as he said, it's so the eras with two strands. One is new game features, so there's that sort of like line that we're going down, and with some of the questions of what features are we making, and then there's the other eras, as Andy was saying, where that's the other sort of line we're going down, timeline, and where we kind of like enabling the game is going through different phases, and I'll even though we're going to go down later, I think through the questions, I can see somebody's asking the 3 times transfer deals. So that's an example of the eras. At the moment, there's 3 times transfers. That's basically to try and combat cheating. But eventually, our plan is to open up that so that over time, when the more busy the game world gets, the more harder it becomes to cheat, for example. And the more fun the game becomes, and it sort of hardens up, the more busy it is, and then we can start changing so the game's going to evolve the more busy it gets. So this state that the game we're playing now isn't the game that we intend it to end up in. It's very similar, of course, it's still going to be a manager game, I don't mean that, but the rules of the game are going to adapt as the game gets more busy, because we can adapt, we can take off some of the restrictions like transfer fee limits, maybe even how many transfer deals clubs can do. We can raise that or remove it. That's what we're trying to get to, where it's just a big free market. But at the moment, we need some restrictions in place. So this is what we're talking about when we're talking about eras, is that there's some restrictions in place as it is now. And I think everybody knows, like, we're also going to open source the code in future so that there's full visibility into the game rules. So at the moment we've not done these things, but there is a roadmap for these through these eras as well, not just game features but also how the game is going to evolve in that respect. And the economy, what Snailbrain were talking about, is one of those sort of changes. So a lot of people may not know the full reasons that SVC can be used for and the whole economy flow of it. Some people might have worked it out. Maybe there's bits of information in the user guide, but that whole side of the game isn't fully out there. I mean, it's impossible, there's no SVC at the moment, but that will eventually evolve the game as SVC is getting generated by the influence holders, and they can sell that SVC. That SVC can be traded between each other, then they can trade influence between each other as well as that. And football clubs, for example, I'm going on about here, but I'll make one last little point. A manager of the shareholder club influence holders of a club might decide they want 50 million to improve their team, and they might do a raise, as Andy said, and they might want to get 50 million in, so the clubs can sell shares in effect. Sorry, not shares. The clubs can sell influence in the clubs, and the other users can buy that influence in the club with SVC. So therefore the SVC goes into the club, and then that club could buy a new left back or a new midfielder, improve the team. So that's a way of clubs being able to get more SVC into the clubs to buy players. So where does that SVC come from? It comes from the other users who might own influence in players or even clubs, sort of farming the SVC, if you will, and then there's other people who take it off you because they want to put it in clubs. So there's some people creating SVC, and there's some people sort of putting it in the clubs, and there's only one thing to spend it on in the clubs, which is better players. So there's all this like moving around. So but that isn't activated yet, but it will be activated later. So as an example. But yeah, I've gone on a bit there, but that was an
No,
example
all
of
good.
the eras.
Yeah, no, it's great, and like I said, I think just gives hopefully all you guys really an insight and a look into what they're all thinking of behind it. I mean, the concept is, I don't say this concept, but Andy G obviously has been working on this concept for decades, right? But to your point, like it's a really good kind of oversight and look into what the plan is in the background and where we see this really grow. So just moving on to more questions, kind of more of a market section, so more lined up to me. So from Maurice 777, any partnerships, collaborations lined up? I think there's also a question in the chat about similar to this. So really good question. So I think just high level, a core pillar of ours is to improve and elevate our authenticity, right? Like many football games, like many products in general, that's the whole purpose in licensing, particularly in sports games. So I think with the wealth of experience we have on the team, with the likes of Andy and Matt, who I work with from a marketing perspective, works the likes of Championship Manager and Football Manager. But it's highly important to do this, right? So we've worked in the background, particularly in the category where partnerships and licensing is obviously massively important. We are having engaged in many conversations with likes of leagues, clubs, players, you name it. They're definitely happening. So there's a lot of been work done into the background to kind of develop the partnership strategy, which has evolved even over my time, even just before my time, but over my time. So what we have to do is to make sure we ensure we approach it in the right manner. I mean, look, there's plenty of variables to consider on this point. Obviously, lots of complexities, depending on the timings, depending on the value and cost, etc. But ultimately, we need to find the right partnerships, which is effective for the right resource we have, right? So, look, it's a massive part of our strategy ambition to do that. Again, we're having the conversations. We need to continue to test and learn on how to work on and optimize kind of how we activate in that sense, but it's definitely been developed, and again something that you should keep your eyes out for, because hopefully, fingers crossed, as we kind of advance and kind of again get this game properly turning and moving, there's lots of opportunity there. So cool. And then next question is from Sarao 10. So Sarao 10 again. So what marketing has done so far? So again, I'll just give you a high level. Again, I was brought in 6 months ago to lead the marketing initiative, working with a colleague called Matt Woodley, who works on the project as CMO, but also works on different other projects as well. So needed someone to kind of come in full time and kind of really accelerate it. So an awesome job was done before me, but ultimately we needed to expand the team, which I got brought on board for. So not only a core focus, obviously, when I joined, just from a marketing perspective, but also what you don't see in the background also is a lot of work done with the development team, right? Where that's even just describing how we message, how we communicate in game, but also how it looks, right? So, a lot of work's been done, as and you've seen in the past few months, the new brand ID, that's been obviously applied to the in-game UI, and that will be improved, not just obviously just for launch, but obviously moving forward as well. So a lot of development kind of work, working with the internal team and development team on that side of things. Ultimately, a big part of it is developing the product and marketing strategy, right? So we've executed a launch plan. So a big mantra of ours, again, as a startup and as kind of a growing team with a really core community, and again, a gradual growth of what our ambitions are and how we need to grow. Not like a traditional game where you're selling millions of units, for example, but you want to grow with the community itself and to make sure it's operating well. But our mantra is that we test and learn, and we see what works, and then we double down on what does work. So we're still doing that. We're still testing, learning, optimizing our approach. We've gathered some great insights over the past 6 months. Again, just some of the work and examples is we've tested out our brand ID on an FA Cup game between Sutton United and Birmingham a few months ago. We've onboarded and kind of worked with some media partners, the likes of Gore.com, which any football fan would know, they're a big media outlet. So again, we're working with them. We've done an influence campaign. Again, you'll see a lot more influence content. Again, more of a medium to low tier influencers, but again, just a part of test and learn of growing and leveraging other people's audiences, particularly in the football space. But ultimately working with other partners as well. I mean, look, again, to rejig about Sutton United, we did a launch trailer And we worked with them to create some content, which was really great. But ultimately, again, I think one piece important that we're doing also is, and you'll see over the next few days/weeks, is creating some kind of tutorial assets, some more assets which helps explain the game. Like, you guys particularly will know more than anyone about the game and how it plays and operates. But ultimately, as we kind of onboard new fans, a lot of the big questions is, how do you do X? How do you do Y? And there's still questions coming through. So hopefully this will kind of help. But again, there's lots of work in the background in terms of ensuring that not just the game is there, but obviously the marketing is fixated. But ultimately, the 3 key objectives and kind of to look forward a little bit is, again, what we've done, but also got kind of what's come next few months is, again, we've solidified and execute a new brand ID, setting up and creating new content and assets. Obviously, massive focus is new user acquisition and social and community growth. So again, I think the community is already there. We have you guys, but ultimately, new user acquisition is highly important, and you'll see a lot more kind of content going out, but also again driving with whether that's using ads and going into different media sources and places, hitting our core audiences such as football fans, gamers, but also the crypto audiences, which is highly important. So again, I keep using the phrase test and learn, but we're just trying to work out what is actually working and really getting the wheels turning. So we're reaching the masses, but also ensuring that, again, we're speaking to you guys and making sure that we're taking the right approaches, because again, getting the right profile of people is probably the hardest challenge to it, to get people in who really want to kind of be engrossed in a game, take over managers, etc. But also there's other people who want to sit from a bit afar, watch the game itself, and really play in different ways, and that's why you have different roles to play. And then again, like I said, the big third objectives and kind of like developing our 2025 roadmap is ultimately the lead up, and just touching upon Andy's eras, but leading up to kind of the next season, right? So the next 6 months, or this first season, is somewhat a bit of a you can call it a bit of a stress test, but it's our fair. We're still growing. We're still, again, hitting that 1,000 mark, which we're close to. But ultimately, what happens when we go after that? And that's the questions that we actually don't know yet. But ultimately, we're striving to aim for. So a lot to come. A lot of work done, but a lot to come as well. So really exciting to kind of be working on this project. But again, from my side, particularly with a lot of partnership experience, I think a lot of that potentially will look towards what we do with other people, whether it's again clubs, players, but also other partners, whether it's media, etc. So a lot to come, really. So I waffled on a bit there, and then another one is, are there plans to incorporate ads in the game, like small banner in the live game, or ads for sponsored teams? So not at the moment, particularly. Again, I think just a really high level from my side. Again, I don't know what the guys think from a technical perspective, but there's no current plan to incorporate kind of ads at the moment. Obviously we need to optimize and ensure that our resources being used for the right things in terms of, again, getting the game going, again, focus on new feature sets, etc., and elevating the game itself. But ultimately, actually, it's we obviously will look into opportunities to increase revenue. Ad streams is obviously huge, but also I think, just again from my experience previously at different companies, that we want to keep in mind the user experience, right? As good as ads is from a revenue perspective, we want to uphold a really good game with a good user experience. So again, there'll be, I'm sure, conversations in the future on that, but there's no plans at the moment.
Just a quick one on that one, Leslie, as well. Sorry for interrupting. So that question, I heard it a bit of a different way. So yeah, there's probably what the user meant, Scenario 10, was like ads for us to generate revenue. However, we have always had it's actually on an upcoming featured roadmap, is allowing users to advertise. So for example, you could pay 1,000 SMC to show whatever anyone wanted on the shirts of the players, or when you go to the match commentary along the advert boards along the side of the pitch, it can have custom things in there. So actually it's another way of the club generating revenue, or the influence holders generating revenue as well. So we haven't planned it in detail, but that's something that we've been discussing probably for over 5 years now. So a bit different than what the question was probably talking about, which is like us generating money. But the actual players can also continue to generate revenue by allowing somebody else to pay, like an auction system or something like that. A bit like we actually had another game called Torion, where where you can advertise above buildings and things. You know, we want to incorporate something like that into this game eventually as well. We just haven't got a date on that.
Yeah, they're nice. And then just final one, kind of from my perspective, what can users like me, so this is from Akadral, what can users like me do to support Soccerverse and help with development? I'll let Andy jump in as well, but I mean, ultimately, again, a key part of this is, you know, sharing the game, right? I think, you know, there's a challenge from our side to onboard and educate users. The great thing about this game is massively complex and massively deep, right? But ultimately that will require some help and sherpering, and which again you guys already do in the community itself, but you know, a lot of the casual fans or potential casual fans who come into the game requires help from you guys, right? And again, sometimes people are not used to Discord or kind of used to engaging so much, but I think ultimately, just a real high level, what you can do to support Soccerverse is ultimately share the game, right? You know, spread it to your family, friends, etc. And not only that, but when they do hopefully come in, then help them, guide them. I'm sure, again, they'll come into Discord and do it themselves also. But actually, a lot of it, again, what I'm finding and learning is a lot about chatting, right? A lot about really, really engaging, about just going into people's chats and, you know, doing player trades, etc. And sometimes not what people first think. But again, you guys are a massive help for that one. So, but Andy's, I don't know whether you want to add anything to that.
Just for me, just continue to provide feedback, report bugs, and it's like you say, spread the word. The game is a lot better when you're playing with your friends, and you know, that's just a win-win scenario for everybody then. And like you say, because of the complexity of the game and because of the blockchain element, it can be complicated for someone who's not experienced with that. However, someone who's showed the game and explained how it works, and you know, if someone asks you questions, you can answer it for them. Those people are the best to be in the game.
Oh, nice. We've got a few more questions. To be fair, we'll kind of try to spin through these. I know we're kind of just running a bit over time, but I'll quickly kind of ask them in general. So just for you, I'll kind of group these up. They're a bit random, but what about training, for example, having team tactics and specific tactics? That's one I know it's kind of briefly answered earlier. When am I getting Sarah back? And then we're getting with wCHI and SBC work, or is that a legendary nightmare? And that's from Nickx as well.
So the training is also something that we plan to have in the future somehow, and that might include something like burning SVC or something like that. We just need to be careful that we don't change that into more of like being paid to win, and you know, there's a lot of complexities in there. When you start messing with training, then there's the player ratings which that affects, and but it is something that we've discussed. We haven't got a time on it though. When am I getting Sarah back? So Sarah, she's not been updated for maybe like 1.5 years or something like that. So she's due for an update, and hopefully in the next month or so she'll be updated, and she'll also be able to answer any questions about anything happening in the game, like absolutely anything. It just needs a bit of extra time to be spent on her. And would betting a wCHI or SVC work? I mean, that is sort of something that we did always want to add in there, but it's just the legal side of it is then, you know, you become a gambling operator and you need licenses. Everything starts going really complex and things. So that's not happening anytime soon unless something changes. But you know, obviously people can do anything offline or whatever they want, which is, you know, nothing to do with us. So that's probably the best way to answer that one.
Right. And then we just kind of dive into the chat. I know there's a few questions there, so while we've got the time, you know, we'll run through this. We were supposed to fit at 10, but you know, again, as you guys have been great, kind of like staying on, etc. But from the chat questions, concerned about the end of season and teams that don't have managers, how to solve the loss of players to free agents if only on one season contracts? Will it damage a lot of teams? Any way to prevent this, at least for end of season 1?
I'll let Andy do that one, but the basics of it are the clubs are self-healing, so they automatically find like sort of there's some parameters set at the start, which is clubs should have 2 keepers, minimum of 6 defenders, 6 midfielders, 3 attackers, something like that, around about those numbers. And if those numbers are not met at the end of a season, then they will automatically take somebody from the free bench to fill that role. So yeah, the clubs are self-healing like that. And the same thing as well, like if a club goes into debt because someone spent all the money, then the top rated player in the club will automatically go for sale on the transfer market, which will then obviously reduce the outgoings of the club. So those sort of things happen automatically at the end of each season. But maybe Andy wants to add something to that.
Yes, there's there's the things to protect the clubs. So I don't believe we'll have to put the information out. The last I recall was that if you had all the players don't leave, that wouldn't happen. So I think it's the 2 worst players leave, or might be the 2 best players, but I think it might be the worst. Only 2 players leave if there's 5 players out of contract, then only 2 would leave of those 5. And then after that, if this squad had gone below a minimum, it would then kick off a self-heal thing. So say one of those players was a goalkeeper, or if there's less than, I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but there's a minimum amount that a club can have. It's like 2 goalkeepers, I think it's 6 midfielders, 5 defenders, 4 attackers, something like that. And if it drops below that after releasing the players, then it will then go on the free bench and bring players in to replace them, so that no teams will shrink too small in any positions. But yeah, maximum 2 leave. And the second thing as well, we have been experimenting with AI transfer thing. It's not AI as in the stuff that everyone's normal game AI, basically the clubs. If we need to run that, then we can, and that would run during a season. And unmanaged clubs would sort of be a bit more intelligent, activate on the transfer market and be a bit intelligent and look to improve themselves or try to repair themselves to the standard of the league that they're currently playing in. So whatever league they're currently playing in, they'd look at the average of the other teams and sort of make transfer bids to get themselves up to that same level. Or if they're too good, they might release some players, put them on the transfer market so they're not too good for that league. So sort of a self-healing transfer market, that some logic that we've got that we're not running at the moment, but we've been testing it. So there's 2 sort of things. So at the end of the season, a club isn't going to completely fall to bits.
Cool, nice. And then a couple more, just again, kind of go into the game, kind of sticking with the game. How are scoring opportunities in the game calculated? It depends on midfield or more of total strength of the team, or a bit of randomness combined. Maybe you can explain it with 4-2-3 versus 4-4-2 as an example.
Yes, there is randomness in it. There has to be, really. And it's basically, I mean, everybody probably knows the answer to this, but the stronger the team, the more chances you've got of things and the better you play, of course. So each player has got some attributes: defensive, midfield, attack. Every player contributes to the positions with what their ratings are, so they're contributing, but it is weighted. So if you had 2 midfielders, you're not going to be the midfield part of it. You can have less opportunities than a team who's got 4 in midfield. However, up front with 4 attackers, the opportunities you do get are more likely to result in shots. That's kind of how it works. So you're just shifting one, winning in one area for the decrement of the other. That's kind of how it's working. And yeah, a little bit of randomness in.
Cool. And then a question from Xaya Gaming: will a club get promoted to higher tier if it is promoted to higher league? In this case, the manager wage should be the same as the new league, right? How will the
Yes.
club influence payouts, amounts to and other finances work in this situation when it's playing in a new league, and will it influence price increase?
Yes, I didn't actually. Is this from the chat? So I didn't see that question
Yes.
coming.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I think Andy. I think what this one is the tier. Yeah, so the tiers now are sort of based on the payout amounts. But yeah, if a club goes from Division 10 gets to Division 1 and then has got all the finances of the other clubs, it will change tiers. However, it's not an automated process, and we'll have to do that manually, and it will be some time before that is even worth doing. Because in a season you could only move up one division, so it might be something that we do like maybe once a year, or maybe even once every 2 years or something like that, and change the tiers of the clubs. I think that answers part of the question. Yeah, here in the case of manager, wage should be the same. Yeah. How will that influence club payouts, amounts, and other finances? Yeah, so the influence payouts are affected by the club's income. So if you do go in a higher league, you will get more payouts. So that's why it is actually good to take over probably a low division club with the chance of getting it to the first division, because you probably got the influence really cheap. But then by the time you got it to the first division, your influence payouts are actually the same as what was the original tier 1 clubs, the top 50 clubs in the world. So starting from a low end club and getting to the top is a good thing to do, because you will get more payouts than your initial cost.
Yeah, so just to add to that, so for example, say you were in Division 5 and you bought a lot of influence in Division 5, and then you got Division 5, you would be sort of yielding so much SVC personally from your influence, so it'd be a small percentage of the weekly income of the club. And then if your club went up a division, that SVC that you're getting paid each week that you're receiving is going to be double, maybe. So there's an incentive to get promoted from that point of view, and maybe have influence in the lot smaller clubs to try and get them promoted. That's something that, one way of playing it. But it would go up, and you would get to the TV money would go. The TV money is fixed. Every club in that league gets the same TV money, so that would be. And also your fan base would grow as well, and you grow towards the average of what the new league that you're in. And of course, the reverse happens as well. If you get relegated, your fan base would shrink a little bit, and then it would gradually, each season you stay in a lower league, your fan base would shrink towards the average of the new league that you've been relegated in. So then somebody else might come along, and you might maybe they might acquire your club influence in a club, and you might decide to give it to them, and then they could build a new team by young players. That saying, again, the young might buy some young up and coming players for cheaper price on the transfer market, and then build that club up over time and get the club promoted again, and then the influence would sort of yield you SVC at a higher level because you've got up the divisions. So you could take an English Division 1 team, an English Division 10 team, build it up, and over many years you might end up in the top division and receiving those sort of like yields that you'd get off a club in that division, and you've built it, you acquired it, the influence in it cheap at the bottom. There might be other ways of playing the game, but going up and down the leagues is building the squads in the teams, building up the club the payouts would be fair. Every club could have a chance in the top division, because it will eventually the fan base will grow towards the attendance that is in the division that the club is in, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and just to add to that, Andy, actually, it's probably worth noting, if you're in the English leagues, as an example, after about Division 5 to Division 10, there actually isn't much in the difference between them. So if you do go up from Division, say, 9 to 8, in some cases, you know, the amount of extra money you get might be minimal, might even be a little bit less. However, the prize money pot does increase through the divisions, and that's also the same with some of the lower end country leagues as well. Maybe there's 3 divisions in there. It could be that the second and third division is you're not making much money if you get promoted, basically.
No, nice. Cool. Okay, and so I know we've kind of run out of time. So look, I think we'll wrap up there. Again, we'll try to answer the questions, and I know there's might be more that's popped up in the channel, etc. And look, we're going to aim to hopefully do this more often and a bit regularly. So again, you know, appreciate your time. So yeah, again, just kind of a bit of closing kind of remarks, really. Again, from my side, I'll pass over to Andy's, but again, thanks again for obviously the community and all your support, guys. I think it's been awesome. I think, again, as we kind of mentioned as well, this game is best played with friends and bringing other people in. So I think any help your side to kind of spread the word and grow it and you kind of spread the love of Soccerverse would be awesome. I know a lot of you do that already. But yeah, no, I just want to say a big thanks. And again, this is a great first session. And again, I hope to do more. But I will pass it to the Andys to kind of, do final remarks.
Yeah, no, thank you everybody for coming to listen. And apologies we don't do this more often. We have been really busy. Hopefully you've noticed that. And yeah, no, we look forward to working with you, I guess you would call it, with this sort of game. And yeah, we'll see you at the next one. I mean, we haven't set a time for when the next one is, but you know, a couple of weeks or something like that, or a month, we'll do another one. Andy?
Yeah, I think that sounds good to do another one in that time frame. And yeah, bringing people in, as I posted a message the other day about this. It's anybody you think would enjoy playing this game. If you know them, then yeah, do introduce them. Do introduce the game to them, because it's not just showing them a game; it's helping them get in. And it's the more people who are actively playing this game, the more better it will be for everybody. We're growing that community, so that's a thing that we've really appreciate. If you could bring in anybody you know and help them, introduce them into the Discord, help them get set up with the MetaMask if they're not familiar with that, and things like that. Just let's grow this community out.
Yeah, awesome. No, yeah, great stuff. And yeah, and just final one actually as well. Nickx, everyone's seen him. He's a really core part of the community and a key kind of spokesperson for you all, etc. But he's doing his first roundup, or kind of the Soccerverse show after the first round of games, which is obviously hopefully everyone's excited about tomorrow. So he's going to do that at 8 p.m. UTC GMT tomorrow evening, Saturday night. So again, he'll do a roundup of results, etc., and kind of generate a bit more buzz and awareness and excitement. So, but no, again, just a kind of final thanks, and again, hopefully you're really excited for tomorrow. I know we are, and yeah, like I said, let's grow this community. And again, good luck for tomorrow, I suppose, because it'll be the first round of matches. But cool.
Brilliant.
Thanks a lot, guys. And see you next time.
Thanks very much. Thanks for coming.
Everybody.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys.